All right, welcome back, truthfully, welcome back to Man Bunkbed. It's been a couple of weeks since we recorded one. How you guys doing?
Better now that we're back on air.
I like that. Of course, we've got Josh, aka Bradley Twin 01, bunking in with us again because
what up?
Our other bunk Cole is just permanently party, I guess.
Well, his football team does have a playoff game tonight, so tonight we can't hold it against him.
He went from I can't feel my leg to I'm going to a football game.
Yeah, his leg hurt so bad he couldn't speak on a podcast.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that cat thought he wasn't going to get some hate on tonight's show. He was wrong.
And for anyone who may listen to this podcast, I will say it to his face. All right, we're all about total integrity here.
Anything weird happened 2 weeks since we recorded in you guys' life?
Nothing that's appropriate to be on air.
No.
Well, Josh, we ain't gotta check every box, okay? I went to here you go, boys. I went to a NBA preseason game, and I'll have you know, big difference between the NBA and the NFL. In the NBA preseason, you can go to overtime.
Yeah, still confused why they let that happen.
Had an overtime thriller for the Grizzlies where they won it on the final freaking shot of the game. Arabia went and dunked it as time ended to win it.
Also, that tip-in let the Grizzlies cover. So, shout out to all those that bet on NBA preseason.
Did not, Nolan, I should.
Sorry, it's a problem.
I'd be surprised that there are degenerates who bet on preseason NBA, but here we are. So, okay, cool. So, look, I'm Zach at the Zach Bradley. I'm the host of the Man Bunkbed Podcast. Of course, on the left of me, we've got Josh, middle bunking it, a.k.a. Bradley Twin 01. And then bottom bunk tonight, we got
always, baby. Love it down here.
Whoa, hold up. I got upgraded. I ain't never been above the bottom bunk.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I made it.
Well,
you're almost a regular at this point.
You know what? Cole's out. I made it.
Well, for me, it was you're not eating at the start of the podcast, and I felt like I needed to be rewarded.
That's why we're starting so late, because we watched him eat, so y'all didn't have to.
You guys are welcome. We did this for the integrity of the show, truthfully. Okay, all right. So speaking of show, before we get rolling, please check us out. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Usually we post weekly. We missed the last 2 weeks. Life happens. People have birthdays. People have stuff that makes them miss. But hope to be back on a more normal rhythm for this. And, of course, you can find us on our, partner host website. It's the FantasyFootballAdvice.Network. Go check it out. Be a part of the community. You can join if you just want to access great content from tons of other creators. You'll see podcasts. You'll see articles. You'll see live YouTube shows. All that kind of stuff. Or if you want to create, they're always looking for additional content creators. So if you get a chance, go check us out. FantasyFootballAdvice.Network. All right, boys. Let's talk a little bit. Week 5 injuries.
Yeah, some big stuff happened today, injuries-wise. A couple big old boys added to that IR. JJ, the one and only Justin Jefferson, pour one out. I don't remember what it was, a hamstring, right?
Yep. Yeah, it looked kind of nasty. Truthfully, yeah. He was kind of in a cut, and it could have been. I mean, you could have quickly thought knee injury. So.
Yeah. You always worry about those one in a cut. And then James Conner, another big one. I know he's not super high on a lot of people's rankings, but I have him in 90% of my leagues, so it's a big deal for me. And then Devon A-Chain, I guess, would be the last big one that came out this week. Pour one out. They said he could be out up to 6 weeks. So,
ouch.
Yep.
So Devon A-Chain, let's see. Let me pull this cat up. So this dude basically healthy scratch. Well, not healthy scratch, but out week 1, kind of a healthy scratch. Week 2, he only had 1 point, and since then, 51 points, 27, and 21 before he got hurt. This dude's averaging like 13 or 14 yards per carry. So the Dolphins will certainly miss him. So, okay, let's talk as far as injuries to those 3 guys. what are we looking for to add in their place? Are there people you can pick up on waivers, or do you need to trade?
So I feel like the big one that you're going to get from this is, especially this first week, is Mostert when A-Chain is out, because he's playing Carolina, and they've allowed the third most fantasy points for running backs, on top of a guy that's scored over 50 points once this year already. So Mostert, I feel like, is an easy start. For the other ones, it's going to be split. See who gets more of the touches between KJ Osborne and Jordan Addison. There's no telling. KJ Osborne's probably going to go more out of the slot, and then Addison's probably going to be the deep threat. No telling where that ball's going to go, because Kirk Cousins loves him some JJ. So no telling where it's going to go.
I can tell you where it's going to go. I'm going to throw a third bone.
The third one? Are you doing the tight end?
Yeah, dude. It's
there it is. TJ Hawkinson's going to get... So I
think, and if you split the receivers, like you said to your point, like KJ's the slot guy. I think probably in like a PPR format, KJ for me is going to get a little bit of a bump.
Right.
He'll probably get the third down passes and the checkdowns and stuff like that. If that's not just going to TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, like you said, he's going to be a downfield threat. It's more of like a big play guy. And he's been pretty good this season so far. But I think this is KJ's turn to step up here. So if it's not TJ Hawkinson, it's KJ Osborne.
Exactly, because KJ also has the most history with Kirk also. He's been with him for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And then our no-name rookie, I don't know how to say his last name, Amari DiMercado, maybe, is probably going to be getting the touches in Arizona. But
he was pretty good when he got the touches.
Plucky's the word, right? In that plucky Arizona offense.
But I mean, he's a good-sized running back too. He's like 215, short. Like, he's kind of everything you want. He came from TCU. They got to the championship game, so it's not like he came from playing with nobody. So I don't know. We'll see. He's also playing the Rams, so their offense probably not going to score 1,000,000 points either. So they may keep running the ball throughout the game.
Yeah. And look, James Conner kind of overachieved the first 3 weeks, but after that, pedestrian week against San Francisco, and then, of course, he got hurt against Cincinnati. I think a little bit of realism in that offense is that, like you can stream Amari DiMercado, but I'm with you on that, Nolan. I think it's probably like a low-end stream. Like, keep our expectations real here. There isn't a lot to that offense. They're playing better than they should, but that doesn't mean that they're good fantasy wise.
That's exactly right. They're you use the word plucky. That whole team is just playing plucky. Josh Dobbs came out of nowhere. He was with the team 3 weeks before he started week 1, and he has surprised all of us, honestly. Shout out to the Tennessee guy.
Don't steal my thunder for later. Okay.
Sticking with the injuries, a couple of guys that aren't quite hurt so bad, but still affect the game. Old A-Ridge can't catch a break, can he?
He hasn't finished a game.
Yeah, third game this season. He's left with an injury.
Yeah. Missed one completely. But hey, there you've got Gardner Minshew coming in, pulling 2 wins out when he came in too.
Number 10, killing it.
We've been saying this for years at this point. He deserves a starting spot somewhere, man.
Minshew mania, dude.
They're kind of similar to me in the way that they act and play. Could you imagine a podcast with Baker and Gardner?
Oh my God, I would love it.
You got to throw it up. We're from Memphis, guys. Minshew mania.
Oh my God.
The other one I was going to talk about that scares the fire out of all them Kansas City fans. Kelsey might not play.
Yeah.
A low ankle sprain, dude. He's been messing with his ankles all season, and if week 1 proved anything, it's without Kelsey, they are nothing.
And a cush matchup too. Like, they're gonna really miss him here because they're playing. You need to pull back up again. They're playing Denver. Like, that's I would still look at streaming somebody from this offense because Denver's so bad.
Just put in everybody you can on the Chiefs. They're gonna score 80 points. They're gonna beat the Dolphins' score from earlier.
But if Kelsey suits up, he's. You can plug him. If you've got another decent tight end, you could put them in and put Kelsey in a flex spot and know that you're going to get like that kind of value out of him. Because that matchup's trash. That's a terrible matchup.
Yep. On top of that, too, like, speaking of the Chiefs matchup this week, play Pacheco if you've got him, because they're going to run that the points up, and they are going to start running the ball, and Pacheco's going to get a million touches this game.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And nobody else in that backfield is it's just Pacheco, right? I wouldn't even touch anybody else. So,
last injury I'll bring up real quick. Not quite so fantasy relevant, but it's relevant for me here. Daniel Jones out with a neck injury, potentially the same injury that ruined his 2021 career. Now, fantasy relevance, unless you're starting the Bills defense, not that big a deal. But concerning as a fan.
He just needs a rest.
Yeah, so I was reading a thing. It's not the same injury. It is a different neck injury, but your neck's not that... I don't know how many different things can be injured in your neck like that.
Right. Well, you can't blame him. We talked about this off air, but, he was sacked 28 times over the past 5 weeks.
Yeah,
nobody should have to get hit that many times that soon.
Yep. Let me talk about one more injury just because of how it affected me this week, and then we'll talk about a little bit. Am I still frozen?
No, you're not frozen. Your background keeps eating your cheek.
You were having a blob.
Other cheek. There you go. Yeah.
No, so this week I made the mistake of putting a questionable player in lots of non-flex positions that played on Monday Night Football, and I did not have replacements.
Yeah, I think you got fucked. You got like I did, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty tough. I had Aaron Jones in like 4 leagues.
Yeah.
And by the time he was announced that he couldn't play, you could not, in most leagues I imagine, you could not pick someone up because it was all waiver claim stuff that wouldn't process until Tuesday. So for me, and I should know better, I've been playing 13 years now. 12 years, something like that.
Long time.
Yeah. I should know better than to do something like that. I thought he had a pretty good chance of playing, but also two, I just didn't pay attention well enough, like in the way that you don't just set your highest point players in your spots. You need to pay attention to when they play in their injury designation and layer that in your lineup so that if Aaron Jones can't go, you've got somebody else. And I did not do that. And it cost me wins in the Warrior Bowl, which is one of those charity tournaments, and the Scott Fish Bowl this weekend, where I was projected 90% chance to win, and that cat got hurt.
Yikes.
Or not got hurt, but stayed hurt, I guess. So shout out Aaron Jones. I'm not blaming you. That's really on me for not paying attention. But if you could have been healthy, that would have been really helpful.
Hey man, he's not that stressed about it. The Green Bay coaches and trainers know they've got A.J. Dillon in the background, so they're like, hey man, take your time, heal. Zach.
Let me see what. Yeah. Anything else week 5 that kind of stood out to you on that? We're going to get to the 25, the quarter mark of the season, but just week 5 by itself. For me, other than being a Saints fan and getting our first marquee win of the season where we dominated, it was the Jets and Nathaniel Hackett getting their revenge victory on Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton opened up that mouth about him being the worst coach ever, and they're screaming to a bad finish. And Nathaniel Hackett gets the last laugh with Zach Wilson as his starting quarterback.
When you talk about week 5 impressions, I feel like you have to hit on the dudes that came back everyone's been waiting for, right? JT, Cooper Kupp, Jameson Williams all started, and I don't think any of the 3 of them made anyone just ecstatic. Cooper Kupp was consistent.
Cooper Kupp did.
He was consistent, but it's glad to see him come back.
He had 8 receptions and 100 yards.
Okay, all right. But Jonathan Taylor was trash.
I feel like it was more of a Jonathan Taylor wasn't trash. It's they didn't use him as much because they were probably just letting him work his way back in. When you have a guy you can lean on, like Zach Moss, you don't have to rush the guy back in. He only played on 15% of snaps.
They paid him. Okay, he sat out.
You got to get a warm up.
Is this, by the way, is this running back update 7-5 for us?
We do it every week at this point. We're talking about running backs way too much.
Running back update. Yeah. So I thought, I don't know, man. For all of I thought it was kind of vindicating for a lot of people. If you thought that Jonathan Taylor was going to sit out the first quarter of the season and then come in and be immediately relevant in what is basically like a rushing offense with a rushing quarterback.
Not anymore.
Yeah, well, Gardner. Yeah, well, Gardner. Look, Gardner's fading Jonathan Taylor because he has Zach Moss on his fantasy team.
Right.
Like,
Oh my
he
God.
said it himself. Okay, he was super happy to have played. Speaking of awesome, fantasy plugs from real life players, did y'all see that Travis Etienne lost to himself?
I did see that.
So
It's gotta be bittersweet for him a little bit.
He had a sick game. Had like a long run where he fell for like 15 yards. Like he never finished falling, but he looked like he was falling on like a 30-yard run. And he goes to the press conference afterwards. They're like, how do you feel about your game? He's like, I mean, it was cool. I was playing against myself in fantasy football. That kind of sucks. Which is awesome because most of the time you see football players talk crap about fantasy football. So it's nice to get some realism because they play.
Yeah.
Lots of them play. Of course they do.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if I'd call it a majority, but I'm sure it's a bunch of them.
Yeah, just lots. I'll stick with the measuring. Yeah, lots. I'm not prepared to put a percentage on it, but plenty, I think, play. And so that's hilarious. And I like the players who didn't pick themselves. Like Travis wasn't like, it was me on my team. He lost to himself, which is amazing. Okay, bye weeks. So we're usually going to do bye weeks. Last week was Cleveland, LA Chargers, Seattle, and Tampa Bay. So, last week was kind of tough. You missed out on Justin Herbert and the guys in that offense. You missed out on a lot of people actually playing Geno Smith this year. I know I had him in a couple of leagues where I had to fade him. And then for Tampa, not really Rachaad White maybe because Mike Evans is hurt. Do we have an update on what that looks like for Mike Evans? But that was last week's buys. This week's bye weeks are pretty soft, okay? This week we have Pittsburgh and Green Bay. So
not a whole lot you're missing.
Yeah, I mean, anybody, are y'all hurting for these two teams being on bye week?
No.
Right, like Jordan Love's kind of playing.
Jordan Love's been disappointing. Christian Watson's still trying to come back from injury, so it's fine. You're missing him. Aaron Jones is hurt. You're maybe missing A.J. Dillon if you're in a super deep league. And then who on the other side is – there's nobody on the Steelers almost that's fantasy relevant at all.
Nobody right now. Look, and I'm going to say this about Jordan Love just because I heard somebody say it about Dak. He's playing like ass. I mean, he's just
playing real bad.
Yeah. Y'all see LaShawn McCoy talk about Dak Prescott? He said, I don't know if I can say this on TV, but Dak is ass. I mean, he is ass.
No, I didn't, but I watched shout out Kurt Benkirk. He does amazing QB breakdowns. I watched his whole video on Dak, and it was he ripped him. Yeah.
He's sitting there like, I have no idea what Dak's doing.
I don't know what he's doing.
No progressions. Here. He's just looking. And then 3rd and 3, you think scramble, and Dak just goes down. He's like, I don't know what Dak was doing, but he could do more. Yeah, that's a pretty bad shade on that one. Okay. All right, let's talk. We're at the 20. It's wild how fast the year is going, but especially in the year, the NFL season. So we are 25% done with the season, boys, which feels wild. It feels like it just started a couple of weeks ago. So we're 25% done. Let's talk about, some of our guys that we think are, you could call it booms or busts. I've got a couple of guys that are like kind of right on target. And then my bust list is long because it's littered with dudes. Mm-hmm. And I tried not to go like guys who, like Nick Chubb, right? Like where he gets really badly injured. That's a bust, but it's not fair, okay? He's hurt. So they might have missed my guys might have missed like a week or 2 weeks, but they have not been like in. Okay, so let's talk booms first. Let's start with some positivity before we really get into the back half of this, where we're going to shred some dudes. So first off, I'm gonna shout my guy out. Josh Allen's right on target here. I mean, he had kind of a shiesty first week, and I think second week, and then since then, him and Stephon Diggs are just strolling. No, it was just the first week, and then after that, he's just rolling. The Bills' offense looks amazing. It helps that James Cook is what they thought he was going to be. I mean, there's a clear difference between him and Devin Singletary, but Josh Allen is killing it. Josh, tell me about the quarterback that you were talking about before we got into this as a boom. Okay.
C.J. Stroud.
Okay.
He's looking good, man. Out of the 3 rookies that everyone was really excited to see this year, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud is handily performing amongst the top ones. He's 13th in the NFL fantasy-wise, 29th overall. He's just been really consistent with a Texans team that everyone thought would be potentially a number 1 pick option this year with him there. I still couldn't tell you most of the receivers. It's wild, but he's averaged over 245 yards a game with at least 1 touchdown pass. He's not making a bunch of mistakes. He's not taking a bunch of hits. I think on most people's list, Stroud was like 3rd behind, A. Rich and Bryce Young, and he's doing great. He's doing great. Now they're playing New Orleans this week, and New Orleans' defensive unit is underrated. So he's going to have to be careful so he doesn't make any mistakes. But, if you got him, he's a great backup spot, or he's even a decent starter. If you got, I guarantee you got him late in any redraft league.
It's definitely a good super flex to plug into that super flex spot. Like I think he fits in great. And yeah, I agree. Look, this guy's overachieving for in comparison to the other guys, and maybe not even in comparison to the other guys, but in the total of the NFL. And he's doing it without a healthy O-line. and Dameon Pierce still isn't that good, So they
you take that back.
It's just
take it back.
I'm sorry, Dameon Pierce. You suck right now. I want their running game's not good, and their pass protection isn't that great, but he's still throwing it. He's still slinging the thing. So kudos C.J. Stroud. Nolan, you got one?
I was just going to say one more thing on the quarterbacks just to touch is you can't say it enough. You got 1-1 Bryce Young, it just kind of sucking it up. And then just every week it's like an embarrassment to the entire NFL. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, again, stellar. You want to talk booms? He literally scored more fantasy points than Patrick Mahomes last week.
Yep. Also, I think the intriguing stat is everybody keeps saying, oh, it's just because he's on the 49ers. He's leading the NFL in completion percentage over 10 yards. Yep. Dude's completing 72% of his passes when he's throwing them over 10 yards, which isn't a system thing when you're throwing it that far and you're not just checking it down every time. He's actually putting air under the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And he did all that scoring and point totaling and whatnot last week against the Cowboys, who everyone's terrified to play.
Well, the last 2 weeks, tough defensive units. Dallas still the number 1 defense fantasy-wise in the NFL, and then Arizona is no slouch on the defensive side.
Yep.
And he was just, his 3rd best week so far was against Arizona. So I tell you, one of the things that probably makes his life a lot easier, I'm just looking at it now, this guy usually is sacked 1 or less times. He's got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sacks on the season. 3 of which came week 1 and 2 on week 3. The other times it's all 1 sack. So I guess it probably is pretty easy when you're either, and I don't have the data in front of me, either he's getting rid of it in that 2-second mark, 2.5-second mark, or his pass protection is just killing it. Probably helps when you have to look out for Christian McCaffrey though.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
So.
All right, no, it's your turn, and then I've got a bust that if no one mentions, I'm just going to freak out.
Oh my God!
Sorry, a boom.
Go ahead we know who you're going to say, right?
No, you don't know.
I know. We know.
Who is it?
We know.
Who do you think?
You're going to say... I'm going to save it.
Fine, we're going to do it. My last boom to talk about is... it's a little hurtful for me to say because, we gave someone a lot of trash talk about starting this guy week 1. And he's number 5 overall at his position this year, and that's Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
He literally got Cam Akers cut from the team. It's brutal. And this kid, last week he had a so-so week and nobody cares. He's 91% rostered, 79% started, and I even think the 79% is low. And he's just a monster.
Killing it, dude. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Vastly, he was not this was not a drafted player. I'd be blown away to see a statistic that he was drafted in more than 15% or even 10% of leagues.
Yeah, I would love to see what his owned percentage was week 1.
Yeah, it had to have been
single digits. It's gotta be. Yeah.
And now he is. There were people probably fist fighting each other on that week 1 waiver wire.
Yep. For that, great segue into the running back section of this. I think, and I picked a team's position here. The Dolphins running backs.
Oh my goodness!
And Mostert and A-Chain. Both have vastly overachieved their draft positions. I mean, you were getting Mostert way after some of these other high-profile starting running backs, and then of course Devon Achane, was kind of in the same draft range, right? And so these two guys are the number 2 and 3 running backs in fantasy football. Now Achane got hurt, and he'll be out a while, but that elevates Mostert's value, right? So for me, it's the Dolphins running backs. Those guys are, they're blowing it away.
I will say that was the one worry most people had with A-Chain anyways, because he's just so small. He's 180, something like that, 5'9". He's a small guy to be running that much. And it's just, while he was on the field, he was super explosive, but that was the one worry we all had going into this.
I think what they've proven, sorry, real quick on that. I think what they've proven is no matter who's, you could probably play a Dolphins running back. When Jeff Wilson Jr. comes back, you've got a decent shot to play any of those 3 guys probably.
Right.
They're going to lighten the load on everyone. Oh,
yeah, because if they end up putting A-Chain on IR, they're probably just going to bring Jeff Wilson back off it. He's on it, but from the couple things I've seen, it's just because they don't need him yet, so might as well just keep him on it.
Okay.
But my fella is I'm going to also be doing a running back, and I will say this was probably one of the best picks I've had all season, because I was talking about it all off season to anybody that would listen to me, and it's Montgomery. I was saying it to everybody.
I'll be the guy. I was out my draft. I could pull it up. My underdog shares for Montgomery have to be in the single digits, and I was incorrect.
Oh, mine was so high. It was just obscenely high. I've been high on the Lions for the past 2 years, and then they just replaced Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift with better versions of each of them, and then they stopped using the version of Swift. So it's just Montgomery's just basically taking over that whole backfield. I don't know what they're doing with Gibbs. I don't completely understand it, but hey, if you got David Montgomery, you are profiting.
Yep. All right, receivers.
Well, I was just going to say real quick, I was just looking into it, and I was surprised. So you said the Dolphins' run game has been really impressive. Dude, their offense in general is impressive. So the run game is, right, they've got Mostert, who's the number 2 running back. Mm-hmm. They've got A-Chain, who's the number 3 running back. Then they've got Tyreek Hill, who is, without a doubt, the number 1 receiver this year. And even Tua, unconcussed, at the number 5 overall quarterback.
I mean,
it's wild. That's a unit. I mean, if their defense could shape it up just a little bit, that's a Super Bowl team.
I mean, they scored the 3rd most points in one game of all time.
Poor Broncos.
poor Broncos. It was the most points somebody scored since the 1960s. Just an insane thing to say.
Oh yeah. All right, who wants to talk receivers? Because if we're talking boom, there's really only one dude.
I've got a second guy. I know who we're all gonna say. We're all on the Puka train.
Yeah.
Obviously, he even showed he could do it with cutback. Still mega productive.
Yeah, so we'll say Puka good. We're not even gonna talk about it. It's dumb how good he's been. Okay.
My other one that I have that's not him, I would have also never guessed this was going to be Bryce Young's favorite receiver is Adam Thielen. He's number 10 as receivers go right now, and I did not see this coming from the 33-year-old white receiver.
That's wild.
Guys, I realized we're talking about receivers, and we forgot a huge Week 5 boom. DJ Moore.
Oh, he's on my list.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah, I'll take DJ Moore. In fantasy, in our Dynasty League, he scored 52.5 points for me, guys. Thank God my wide receiver 2 spot turned up once this year. I mean, last week was 28 points. It was good. Zach had been telling me all along that he was going to have to be Justin Fields' number 1 guy. Has to be.
He was the only receiver on that team that caught a pass. The only one. Every other receiver, 0 receptions, which is
doesn't matter.
A stupid stat.
It's just wild. And you look, and he was only at 88% snap percentage, and you go, well, yeah, the dude had to get a drink of water and breathe.
It was actually his lowest snap percentage of the year, and he's points.
Well, I mean, when you're up 17 points in the first 7 minutes, you get a little break after that.
Yeah, they're like, give that man a break. You know what? Send over Deshaun's masseuse, all right, because he needs a break.
Oh, dear
I don't know about that one.
And look, and they took away a 69-yard touchdown. This dude's stats would have been more ridiculous. Yeah, DJ Moore, number 4 wide receiver in fantasy football through the first quarter of the season. Still,
Catching passes from someone who everyone says should be dropped.
overachieving. Yeah. All right, my last boom before we jump into the talking smack phase of this. Anybody care to hazard a guess?
Oh, we know you're going to say, Mr.
who
Tight
I'm
End
gonna
boy.
talk
Oh, we know.
All right, if we
Go
are
ahead,
talking
go
about
ahead.
booms, we are talking about the number 1 tight end in fantasy football, Sam Laporta. I mean, dear Lord, can you ask more for a tight end, let alone a rookie tight end? No. The answer is no. You can't ask more for one. Okay, he's clearly been the best tight end, and that offense is they're super good this year with people hurt, people missing for suspensions and stuff like that, and they're still just. I mean, they're drumming along like there's no big deal. Like, you would probably list, like, Amon-Ra maybe as a bust just because he's struggling to get on the field, and Jameer certainly, but the rest of the offense is just humming along, man. You know, they're humming along. So, huge shout-out, Sam Laporta. So, in our 10-year league that we're in, for you viewers out there, I have the number 1 and 2 tight ends in fantasy football. I've got Laporta and Kelsey, and it feels weird to be comfortably starting a tight end in the tight end spot and a tight end in the flex spot. Nolan,
I'll say it. That's how you win in that league.
I'm just saying, since I started doing that, I'm winning. Like,
it has been proven that you win that league if you start 2 tight ends.
Yeah, insane. So, my last, and maybe collectively our last boom, unless y'all have another one. Sam Laporta, dude, huge shout out. We're not going to talk about defenses. Who cares?
No, I don't give a shit.
We're moving on. Okay, let's talk about some busts. All right. And the first one for me, technically it's injury related, but he's still playing. And so when you play, you have a responsibility to perform. Joe Burrow has been trash. Okay?
Agreed.
With all the weapons in the world, he's just not been good. He's still running for his life. Like, I'm not understanding, but he's not been good. He goes on my busts list. I mean, this dude was like a top 5 drafted quarterback, or maybe even like top 3 or 4, depending on your league. And he's been terrible. I mean, he's quarterback what? Let me see. Quarterback. Yeah, I got to scroll down. That's the problem. Yeah, he's quarterback 26.
Yikes.
Not close to where he should have been drafted. And like, when your skill position guys, like your running backs, your receivers, top 60 you start having conversations with because you can play a bunch of them. Most people play 1 quarterback leagues, and so when your 1 quarterback that you drafted early is 26th overall, that's a huge impact negatively on your team. So that one, he's not been good. What about you guys?
If we're sticking on quarterbacks, I think my bust for the year so far has been Trevor Lawrence. I don't know what's going on with that team, man. He's ranked QB 17 right now, when a lot of people are picking him 6 to 8, somewhere in that range. Like, they've got all the weapons in the world, and they're just struggling to put it together.
They were basically just in a shootout, and he still only had 17 points.
Right. So, I don't know. I'm not quite understanding what's going on, why that team as a whole is so low with, like, the amount of weapons he's got. He's got ETN, Tank Bigsby, Ridley, Kirk, Zay Jones back off injury, like Evan Ingram. Yeah. I don't know. He's got to put that together, man. Figure it out. If you got to be able to win a game not in London.
All right. I was going to also for bust quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, your ass, dude. I mean,
fuck that guy.
Okay, you're not good. You're a bad person, anyways. All right. Anyways, gosh, it's not his fault totally. Daniel Jones is bad right now, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the 22 ranked quarterback, which, like, on the surface compared to the other guys we've talked about, like, is okay. But like, that team and him have been bad. You can't play in 1 quarterback leagues. You can't play Daniel Jones.
Agreed. As a huge fan, I will tell you, I took him in. I mean, my percentage of ownership for him has got to be almost 100%, and the reality is you just can't start him. But I will tell you the same thing I've told everyone else. Any problems you have with Daniel Jones, you refer to his freaking O-line. Okay?
Yeah.
They are trash. They're so bad that Evan Neal turned around and went after the fans like an idiot and almost got canceled. I mean, it was about the end of his career. Yeah, I mean,
you know, burger flippers. I mean,
yeah,
that's,
hey man, you probably
super
a huge
stupid.
majority of your fans probably do flip burgers.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
But you don't belittle them. Like, the difference between you and them is that you're athletically gifted enough to play football, okay? Otherwise, you might just be doing the same thing. So,
Yep.
like,
Also,
don't belittle them. They pay your salary.
Also, one last quarterback to throw in here, and you know, in my division, I get to throw a little bit of trash talk. Dak sucks, dude.
Dak
He's
sucks.
Dak
Trash.
sucks. Let's get him out of here. The only reason the Cowboys are where they're at this year in any sort of win factory is absolutely their defense.
Yep. As the great LaShawn McCoy said on national TV, you ass. I mean,
He's ass.
Yeah.
Or our good friend Patrick, he's dog, dude. He's dog.
Dog.
He's been dogged. I mean, maybe he's just had too many years of high expectations.
Like, it's not that football phrase. He ain't got that dog in him. He is dog. Okay?
He's dog, dude. And it's, you know, I like Dak as a person, and I think that he wants to be better. But, dude, at this point, you've had good O-lines. You've had good receivers. You've had good running backs. You run out of excuses for the performance problems. And, I mean, he plays all the plays. He's healthy. And even his fantasy numbers are okay. Like, you could start him. He's 21st, I think, in quarterbacks. But, dude, he sucks. He sucks. I don't care who you are. He sucks. And when your defense is that overpowered, fantasy relevance is affected because you're not going to be on the field as much. You just don't have to be. I mean, you would argue maybe they'd be on the field more because of turnovers, but it doesn't seem to affect him in a positive way.
Yep. All right, let's talk bust running backs. I'm going to scream to the bottom of the list on this one, okay? Cam Akers.
Oh, buddy.
You're bad, I guess.
Yeah, it's just
bad.
bad.
This dude had all the offseason, preseason hype. I know I have shares of best ball drafts with him.
Yep.
I know Nolan has shares of best ball draft with him. Not like, I mean, I wasn't drafting him 50% of the time, but I did have double-digit shares in this guy, and we drafted probably 60 leagues, and dude's worthless. I mean, He's not playing football right now. Some of that's attitude-related, it sounds like, but apparently some of it's talented. Like history has shown, these teams will play talented dudes that have attitude. And for some reason, either it's so bad or he's just not as good as we thought because he's not on the field, you know?
You can't even say it's the injury anymore because the past 2 years he got hurt, and then last year he was coming back off it. Like, the second year back historically is when you break out again, and it's just not happening, and I'm just so disappointed about it.
So, yeah, he's running back 58.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's not even touching the field at this point.
It's all right. I got a direct shot at our sponsorship here, old Fantasy Football Advice Network. Hey, Tyler, when you listen, just so you know, two of your guys that you've supported in the past are trash. Okay, Najee Harris, not good.
That's going to be my guy.
I'm sorry, dude.
He's not even the best running back on his own team.
I'm staring at it, dude, and I'm like, I've tried to support parts of the Steelers team for years. No, I'm done supporting him. He's healthy. He's playing. He sucks.
He's not good. Man. He's not good. I was saying this all offseason to Zach, and Zach would not listen to me. I called this one.
And then my other shot at you, old Razorback friend that you've been talking about, Miles Sanders. Not great.
Not great.
Not great. Yeah, I had him on my list. Running back 28. 28. So there's almost one starter per team in the NFL better than him as far as fantasy production so far.
And that's including some of these dudes that haven't touched every game this season. You know, like the freaking two different guys for the Dolphins and Zach Moss looking good. I mean, good Lord. You've got people like that, and you're the only starter in your team getting time, and you can't put up some numbers, man. Especially with a quarterback that's not that good. I mean, you think the running back get the extra attention. And that's for both those guys, for Najee and Miles.
Yeah.
They're out of excuses.
Chuba Hubbard's getting more touches. He has more targets and more carries the last 2 weeks than Miles Sanders does.
And not because of injuries.
Right. Like, just because he's not playing good.
And let's be real, guys. You can't say it's because their playbook doesn't account for running backs.
True.
Well,
I mean, they had CMC.
Yeah, and then I will say also for the running back, tons of busts from injury concerns.
Yeah.
So these guys haven't necessarily played badly, but when you've got dudes like Eckler and Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams, which we probably could have called, and Nick Chubb, like, it has been a brutal year.
Saquon too.
To get some of these guys, like it's been an active trade and waiver market early. this season because of injuries and play. And some guys are just ass, All right, so let's talk receivers. This one was surprising to me when I pulled it up because he's played a lot. But so far, quarter way through the season, Jalen Waddle has not been very good compared to everyone else on the Dolphins offense. So Jalen Waddle has only missed one game out of 5, and he's wide receiver 47. I don't know if that's surprising to y'all or not, but that was surprising when I actually pulled his ranking up. Yep. He's not been good.
I think mine's going to be Jahan Dotson. I've talked about it on here. Y'all have all heard me talk about it. I thought the Commanders' offense was going to be so good this year. Their best receiving target is Logan Thomas, of all fucking people. Dotson has been awful. I think he's like wide receiver 60 or 70 something. Terry McLaurin's in like the wide receiver 3 range. When you're relying on Logan Thomas to get most of your fantasy value, it's a tough look. Honestly, probably just that offense as a whole. I thought Sam Howell was going to come out better than this. He's looked awful too. His stats aren't that bad, but if you watch the games, just looked bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So, Drake London, but it's not Drake London's fault.
We all knew this was going to happen. It is Desmond Ridder, yes. It's also just fucking Arthur Smith. We knew in that offense that there wasn't going to be the throws to go around. And then, sorry. Do you want to go ahead and just do this whole team? We could...
No.
I'll go in on this whole team if you want me to. Why is Jonnu Smith getting the most targets on the entire team?
Crazy.
You have Bijan's doing fine. Then you have Algier. Algier's doing fine for running back 1B. But then you've got Drake London doing nothing. You've got freaking Kyle Pitts, who was, the highest drafted tight end of all time. He got 2 targets or something last week when freaking Jonnu Smith got, 8, 7? Something like that. And that's just...
Yep.
How are you relying on Jonnu Smith to be your receiving target on that one? Much like the Commanders, we're relying on, a third-rate tight end to do most of your production, and it makes 0 fucking sense. It blows me away how bad that team has been and how it doesn't make sense because everybody was like, I saw so many Drake Londons go in the second, third round. I knew it felt a little high, but it didn't seem irrationally high where the stats have been at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going for a little bit of bias here, obviously, but we're talking about busts. We're talking about good quarterbacks supporting them. Odell Beckham is trash.
Yeah, we all told you that, buddy. I think that was a homer pick on your part.
No, dude. You got to look it up. Preseason, he was hyped because Lamar got signed, and the only other dude they had was Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers. But Nelson Aguilar is doing much better than Odell Beckham Jr., and he's old. Yeah. He's wide receiver old.
Yeah.
I mean, Odell's old.
You didn't say football old, and then it's sad because in that Falcons offense, I want to be like, dude, Bijan's insane because he is, but the rest of everybody else kind of sucks.
It's just holding him back a little bit, it feels like.
Put a competent quarterback in that offense, and dude, we're talking about a top 5 offense.
Not even competent. Put a mediocre quarterback in that offense.
I'm telling you, Daniel Jones could pilot the hell out of that offense, Josh.
You shut your whore, dirty mouth.
I tell you, what, Nolan? I'll say this. You could put Andy Dalton in that offense, and I promise you that they would be far more efficient than what they've been so far. Telling you. A quarterback of that caliber. So, look, I would say it's sad because there have been a lot of great performances, but in the quarter half of our season, my bust list is so much larger than my boom list was.
Yeah.
Because so many of the guys have been hurt or have just underperformed, and you can rationalize why, but it's a really healthy reminder that if you draft in multiple leagues, I would probably advise to vary your approach. Go in with a couple of different strategies because one of them's going to crash and burn, and one of them's probably going to be really good. If you draft in one league, good luck. That's tough. I don't know how you do that.
I also think that I would be remiss if I didn't bring up in wide receiver busts, and this isn't his fault. I don't think so. I'm going to blame it on Joe Burrow. T. Higgins looks not good this year. And before last week, Jamar Chase was doing his best and struggling.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd is right where he should be, performance-wise. I mean, he went kind of later. He's the third-string guy. But T. Higgins was, their Jalen Waddle. He wasn't quite that good total number-wise, but he was good. And he's 64th in receivers right now. And that makes me sad.
Some of it goes into, I think we talked about this on our last one. So this dude's in a contract year, and they're not doing a lot of positivity around, actually re-signing him. So he's not going to be playing through injury, in the type of way that other guys would, where they would, put the vest on and just play or push through it. He's going to value himself and sit it out if he has to, make sure he gets signed. So, unfortunately for fantasy players, that's, you have to pay attention to that. He's not going to play if he's even partially hurting. So, cool. Quarter way through the season. This is episode 10. So we've got 10 episodes in on our season, our first season on our Man Bunkbed Podcast. Look, we appreciate y'all for listening to us. Again, sorry for the 2-week gap. We're going to make that up to you. Look, find us on Spotify, find us on YouTube, find us on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. And if you have any questions, hit us up. We'll see y'all next time.
See you.
Adios. Peace.